Maria,
Hello.
hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're very low.
Let me see if I can change
Okay,
the.
that's better. That's better, Maria.
Okay.
So have you taken over for Jody?
I'm temporarily, overseeing projects in the HPC and
Okay,
together with Dan Bursuk and Michael Taku.
okay. So
And
Jody is no longer with the city.
yeah, she resigned as of last week.
Okay.
Yeah, so just please bear with us as we're
Yeah, no problem.
traveling through things. And Michael is going to be leading the meeting here on behalf of the city.
Okay.
It's your meeting, right? But he said he was going to be here today. But I had to create new appointments. So I just want to make sure that the meeting was going to start okay
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be recorded and everything. But he should be here in a second.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Paulo. May I know who is M Ash? What's the first name for M, please, for the record?
Hi, this is Michael Ash.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
I see that Grace is here, and I believe we have a quorum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a quorum of 5.
We do. Michael, Philip is not going to be at the meeting today.
Okay.
Darren Clark confirmed that he would be, so I don't know if we want to wait another minute or two for Darren to see if he pops on or.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Maybe wait 4:03 or something.
Yeah. Let's give another 2 minutes. At 4:03, we should be ready to start. Okay, he shows up. Darren is here.
Okay,
Hello.
hi Darren.
So we have 6 present today, 1 absent.
Yeah. So do a call to order for the Barrio Historico Historic Zone Advisory Board for Monday, September 9th at 4 p.m. I'm just going to go around and say that you're here. Darren Clark.
Here.
Paolo here. Hope Hennessy.
Here.
Mitch.
Here.
Stephen Paul. Stephen, are you muted?
Sorry, here.
Yep. And Grace.
Here.
So I missed the meeting we had a couple months ago, so I don't know if we were able to introduce the new members of the board. Grace? No.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
I think we can do that today.
Yeah, let's do it. So we have 3 new members today. Hope Hennessy, Darren Clark, and Stephen Paul. You guys just want to say what your affiliation is with the board and maybe where you live? Hope, do you want to start?
Sure. I live on Convent Avenue, and I am an interested neighbor who is looking for a way to help the neighborhood.
Thank you. Stephen?
Yeah, I live on Simpson Street, actually right next door to Darren. And been here for decades and have a long interest in preserving the neighborhood's historical integrity. Actually served on the advisory board for 2 consecutive terms in the kind of, 80s and 90s. So yeah, happy to be here.
We're happy to have you, Stephen. And Darren?
Hi, my name's Darren Clark. I live on Simpson. I'm an interior designer. I've watched this neighborhood evolve for 3 decades, and I want to ensure that I want to participate. I want to participate in its survival and existence.
Cool. We were really happy to have all three of you join the board. So Michael, number two, review and approval of the 7/8/24 draft legal action report. I'm not quite sure what that is. That just the meeting minutes?
Yeah,
Okay,
and the action, because let me say that in that meeting, we only had a courtesy review,
right.
which is coming back today. It's a full review. So it is just the adoption. There was no action that was taken on that day, but legal action report
Yeah. Does
that was
anybody
approved.
want to make a
So
motion to approve those meeting minutes from July 8th, 2024?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the legal action report from July 8th, 2024.
Thank you, Grace. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Great. I'm going to go around just really quickly. Darren, yes or no?
The approval of the
Minutes from July 8th.
yes.
Stephen?
was
Yeah.
that Hope who seconded?
Yes, Hope.
Thank you.
I'm a yes.
Yes. Mitch?
Yes.
And Hope, yes. And Grace, yes. I guess I'm going to abstain because I wasn't there and I did not read them. Agenda item number.
Let me say, Mr. Chair, that we are doing this in September because the August meeting, we're supposed to approve this at the August meeting, but the August meeting was cancelled. So that is why the July meetings are carried on to September.
Yes. So the meeting minutes from July 8th, 2024 have been approved. And item number 3, call to the audience. Michael, do we have anybody?
We did not receive any call to the audience by deadline, Mr. Chair. Nothing was received.
Okay, great. So we can move on to the reviews. The first review is 538 West 17th Street, unit number 2, SD 0924-0084/TC. God, these are all new numbers. TC MDP 0824-00876, the construction of an ADU in the rear yard. Logan, Gustavo, I'm assuming this is your project.
Yes, that is correct.
Then I believe Hope Logan is going.
Yeah, Michael, if you could allow me to share a screen, I can go through the chart.
So let me do that. If I can find your name here, yeah.
Great.
I will make you. I need to make you co-host here. Hold on.
All right.
So coming on your name. I don't see the one showing you, making you co-host here. Let me call Maria and see what is happening. It's not giving me the option to make you co-host. Let me see. Maria, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
I
What do
don't.
you need?
I'm trying to make login here as a co-host, and I
Okay,
don't
let me
that
see.
option coming up. Can
So
you
who doesn't need to be co-host?
log in, Kevin?
Okay, let me try. Okay, I just did.
Yes, I am now a co-host. Let me share the screen. Okay,
Oh, okay, because Maria is the host. Okay, that's why.
there we go.
So
Yeah.
let me just advise the board that login had come to the board at the July the 8th meeting to do this as a courtesy review. And the legal action report you are approving today was mainly for this particular project. So he's coming back based on the feedback that he got from the board to now formally include all the comments that you made with how he has changed his design from that time. Am I correct, Logan?
Yes, that is correct. Thank you for taking the time to explain to us during that courtesy review the format and the way that a review is done. We appreciated the feedback and learning how the system works. So for this review, we're reviewing an ADU on the back of this primary residence. This is at 538 West 17th Street. And our index, we can skip that. But so the project description, this is, I won't read this description. However, this is an ADU placed against an alley. This alley is primarily lined with accessory structures and some residences. Many of the structures are either prefabricated, tough shed brand, or carports. Some residences, it's a very mixed alleyway of different structures. And so what we have done is we were winners of the city's ADU design competition, building a style of structure called a detached Sonoran, primarily to make it able to fit into a better into a historic neighborhood. So we were approached by a neighbor wanting to put that in the alley to give a secondary residence to friends and family. The structure is built with thick, foot-thick walls, a metal roof, and wood windows and doors to match the similar style and topography of these neighborhoods. So development zone, this is a rendering on the bottom left of what it will potentially look like on the alley once it's added. But our development zone is only this one side of the street. It's an odd alignment because of how the neighborhood is at this section. So we are, this is our development zone outlined here. Our property is the one on the left, abutting this dirt lot and the El Paso Greenway. The contributing properties on this street are pretty much all of the properties. And then here's photos of all the contributing properties on this row, all 11 structures. These are the accessory structures behind those existing structures. There's a shed on the property where we're developing or proposing development. Sheds and some of the residences do butt up against that alleyway. The accessory structures, as we said, like number 3 or number 6 or number are prefabricated structures that are not contributing. Some of them are smaller built structures. Often they follow the alignment of either the lot lines, which are all irregular, or sometimes they do follow the alleyway. It is mixed as you proceed down the alleyway. But for the accessory structures, the majority were following the property lines, which in this case are the diagonals. So what we are proposing is to follow the alignment as is in property 3, 5, 7, and 10, and 6. All the existing accessory structures follow the property line with an opening into the alley. We're requesting a modification of setback for the north alignment to get it onto the alleyway, and then against the neighbor's property being number 2, which is also has a 0 setback. We're requesting a 2-foot setback. All the accessory structures have a 0 or marginal setback. We're requesting a 2-foot setback to maintain the ability to address any needs of the structure and have some existing setback. The proposed structure is a studio unit. Here is the existing elevations for the structure. Has the existing shed in the back, the primary structure. What we are proposing is the addition of this ADU. Really, because it's opening to the alley and for security reasons, it has a transom window. The rest are below the alley line, just to avoid any privacy issues. And the fence height is 6 feet. So windows are at 6 feet from their height or below, or facing into the yard, they're more open. But from the street, the visibility will be nominal from the front. From the alleyway, you'll see the structure, and from the side, you'll see the roof and the parapet detail. Again, the fence line is 6 feet, so we did plan to place all utilities below that line. So you should see no utility, and the only thing you'll see is the divided light French windows as you pass it, and the parapet roof gutter details. All the windows and doors are wood. On the elevations here, or the renderings here on the left, top left, that's the side facing the neighbor. Not allowed to have windows on that side, so that is now a solid wall. Thank you for the courtesy review for helping us with that one. Alleyway door with a transom window. And then this is what would be visible if the fence was not there. However, the windows and utility will be below the lot line. And then the other windows face into the property. One of our primary reference buildings of the 11 is number 7, has both square windows and a step-down parapet. Outside of the development zone, just the abutting property to the north, but outside of the development zone is 435 West Carrillo Street. That also has the parapet step down visible from the side. We are matching the window depth to the original structure, the corrugated metal roof, the plaster texture will be, hers is more of a dashed, slightly knocked down. We're going to do a sand floated just to differentiate the texture, but to have it still feel in place. Natural line plaster will be a similar color, but just a minor different shade. This outside of our review zone is this transom window, but it's visible from the front yard of the house. We were looking at where a transom window, this is not a contributing structure, but we were using it to illustrate the purposes. The rest of them of the development zone, the property 3, 534 West 17th has the divided light windows. Number 7 has the square windows and divided light. We opted for a solid door to avoid screens, just because we would rather have the wood visible than a storm door or a screen door. And then walls and plaster. Walls are a foot thick, ICF, concrete filled wall with the window set back to the interior to give us a 6-inch reveal. So there is that depth matching the structures around. And again, we are going to do unpigmented white Portland cement with a natural sand to get a similar texture and color, but differentiating it a little bit. So here's the historic property inventory form, and yeah, welcome to El Hoyo. So, all right. Are there any questions that any of you have, or anything that you would like elaborated on? Yes.
I just have,
Mr. Chair, before we start,
okay, yes, please.
any illustration that is outside the development zone cannot be considered.
Yes.
You have to stay within your development zone.
Yeah.
So anything that is outside the development zone will not be used for this review.
Yeah. So what is the outside of the development zone, Logan? Was it the transom window above the front door?
Yeah, this is the other step down parapet visible from the street. And we did list outside of development zone used only for visual reference. So there are other references. We're just using those ones. They're not used as a reference to validate what we're doing. It's just another one visible from the street that just gives another reference that we can visually see multiple examples of that.
So the 516 West 17th, that's in your development zone, that has the step parapet. Is that what you're bringing up there?
Yes, that is correct here. This one has both the step-down parapet and one of the examples of a square window.
Window. Okay, Stephen, sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's okay. So I was just wondering, on the west elevation, what is that square? Is it an opening or a vent on the lower right?
The square you're saying on the west elevation, sorry, right here. Here. Those are a bathroom window, and then the bathroom window, and then a living room window.
But in the lower right, is that an opening or?
That's a living room window, yes.
It's a picture window, a fixed picture window.
Yes. And that one is below the fence line, so it will be not visible from any side of the property. And it's for allowing light and also privacy from the alley and the high trafficked dirt lot to the west of this.
So if the fence went away someday, would that be visible?
A lot of things would be visible if you did a lot of things but yes, if you remove the fence, that would be visible. If you remove the house, the south side of the structure would be visible as well.
Okay.
Logan, what kind of, you said the doors and windows will be wood. What kind of wood are you talking about?
What we've spec'd is all Douglas fir, natural wood windows with an oil finish from a company Lowen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the door, is it is that a kind of a plank door, or what's the construction of it? Is it a solid core or hollow core?
It'll be a solid core door, likely joined wood planks.
Cool. So I'd just like to ask the board, as far as precedent goes, that square living room window, as I understand it, is that so it's on the interior of the lot, not to be seen, but could be seen if the fence went away. Has the board been, and it's not obviously not a feature seen historically. Is that something that has been acceptable to the board?
We've accepted similar situations in the past, on new builds where the window is, a window like that sits on top of the concrete plate, and also full height windows that go from the concrete plate up to this drywall ceiling on the inside. So it's something that's been accepted before. Mitch, Grace, do you guys have any input on that, since may have done a couple of those reviews?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally too, in these reviews, we're kind of focused on the view from the street for the structures. So kind of facades that are more on the interior lot are not as subject to kind of more maybe restrictive kind of rules of proportion and things like that. Whereas a street facade might have another, be dealt with differently.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, Logan, would you show us the materiality of that window again? I think the high bathroom window that's also square is wood for sure. Is this window wood or is this window steel?
Yes.
They're all wood windows.
It's
Okay,
also a fir wood window. This one is a picture window. It does not open, so it'll just be a fir solid window.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know we've definitely seen some things that are like interior to courtyards or new build versus openings being made in a contributing structure that have a little bit more leeway in terms of proportion, like Mitch was saying. I'd agree with that.
Does that help, Stephen, at all?
It does, yeah. I mean, it just a little concerning in terms of the proportions and the placement of it. It isn't anything you'd have seen historically, but I don't want to go somewhere where you guys have not gone before in terms of accepting something like that. I mean, it would be great if it was had a more vertical proportion and wasn't down to the floor. But I don't know if that's something you want to change, Logan, but I'm not pressing it. I'm just observing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as a pre-approved plan in the city's model plan library and as a low-income homeowner that we're building this for, we don't have the means to redesign the structure and get it back through permitting again. But that's not an excuse for us. Part of it is it's below the fence line. It's not visible from the street. And we can ensure that she maintains a screen either through plants or a fence for as long as she has the property.
Also, Stephen, in the courtesy review, we had another type of window in the structure, and we were advised by the board to keep all windows in the same proportion. So we made sure that all windows were square, and that is the reason we have them all as square windows, because they wanted the windows to have some congruency throughout the whole structure.
Okay.
And also 516 West 17th Street does have two windows at the same proportions, both higher and mid level of the building. Ours is the low level of the building, not visible from the street, but that is a 516 West 17th Street. It is approximately the same dimensions and proportion as that window.
Yeah, no, I understand there are square windows in the neighborhood, but just part of it's the placement, but I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Logan, could you go to the street view of the other contributing properties, that page with all the
Yes.
facades? Because I believe also that 520 has a large
Mr.
square
Chair,
opening.
Mr. Chair, let me just add one thing. Although Logan is saying that it was a winner of the ADU competition, even though it won, it did not exclude it from going through the historic review and following historic guidelines. That's why it still has to come to, once it comes to ADU, when it comes to historic preservation zone, they still have to go through the normal historic review process.
Yeah.
So I didn't quite understand that, Michael. Do you mind repeating it?
Pablo, I'm saying that Logan alluded to the fact that this project won the competition for ADU City. But winning that competition does not exclude it from following the
historic review,
guidelines.
Right.
Even the changes that are being proposed at the state level for ADU, they still have to go through the historic review process. It doesn't exclude it from historic.
Yeah. Okay. I understand.
Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe we can be okay with the window. Logan, my question: the metal roofing, you're going to do corrugated there, correct?
I believe the plan is corrugated to match the original house as is.
In that same galvalume or galvanized.
Yes.
It's not a painted corrugated.
Yes. The one thing that with all ADUs, one of the requirements is we'll find an appropriate matching roof. It does have to be a higher reflective level than what's required for housing, but we'll find a product that works.
And the front door, is that going to be along the same wood species? Is that a Douglas fir?
Yeah, the plan is for her to fabricate it or source a salvage door. And so that'll be fir wood laminated together to make a solid hardwood door.
Okay. Hope, Darren, do you have any comments or questions?
No. Actually, I do have a question. Stephen, you mentioned the fence, like what would happen if the fence came down? What's to prevent anyone ever from taking a fence down? We don't have rules about that, do we?
Yeah.
Or do we?
You're not asking me, right?
I kind of didn't you bring up the fence? Like
yeah, I did. So it's just fences are temporary. I mean, fences aren't. I have an adobe wall which I'm, having to maintain, because if I don't, someday it won't be there, and so I just, in the future, who knows if the fence will stay, and so then things that were planned to be obscured by a fence will be visible. So that's my only perspective. I mean, who knows, that's all.
Yeah. No, I'm not thinking about this project even specifically. I'm just trying to learn how we consider fencing for all of these reviews.
So Logan, potentially the shed that's there, I mean, if Stephen's concern comes to fruition, that shed could fall over and then that would create an opening, but I'm assuming the owner wants to have some kind of security privacy, so there will be a fence.
Yeah, I would say based on it being on an alley and on a greenway and on the frontage road, I doubt that the property would ever not be fenced. But we can also just give her a very clear guideline to keep that fence up to maintain the historic integrity of the neighborhood.
Aaron, did you have any questions or comments? Are you muted, Darren? Darren is gone. All right, does anybody want to make a motion on this project?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Do we have to add anything to that motion? We're okay with the door schedule, the sizing of the windows.
So, Mr. Chair, whoever is making the motion, he talked about requesting a 2-foot setback modification on the property line.
Yep.
So, however you frame your motion, please add that to the extent that the building setback on the east property line of 2 foot away. That way, the project does not need to go through a DDO process.
Right. So, Mitch, if you make the motion and you grant the setback requirements that are requested in the project, which was, what were they, Logan? They were
It's 2 feet on the east side and 0 feet on the north side.
Okay.
What did you say, Logan?
2 feet on the east side and 0 feet on the north side.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to approve and granting the request to have a 2-foot modified setback to 2 feet on the east side and 0 feet on the north side.
I will second that motion. We'll go around and vote. Grace?
Yes.
Hope?
Yes.
That's Stephen?
Yes.
Darren?
Yes.
Yes. What? Is that Michael? And Mitch, you made the motion. You yes or nay?
Yes.
And Paolo, yes. So Logan, Gustavo, thank you for coming. You've been approved with your plan as is. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking the time for the courtesy review as well. That taught us a lot about the process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Bye.
So your next step, we are going to look into scheduling you for class review subcommittee. I will communicate with you as to when that comes on schedule.
Okay, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll be in touch.
Just get in touch with me.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
I'll write you an email.
Sure.
Thank you.
The second review today, 350 South Convent Avenue is the applicant.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, my name's Rory Juneman. Mr. Body couldn't be here today, and so he's asked us to help represent him in this case.
Bro, before you start, can I just make a quick introductory so the board is aware of what is going on here? So,
sure, and also, Ms. Taku, if I could get access to, while you're speaking, maybe Maria can give access.
Maria, can you give Rory, make him a co-host, please? So to board members, this project, because it's a door replacement, we started off reviewing this project as a minor review. It is a code violation also because the door was replaced without going through any historic review approval process. So code enforcement cited them. And then they came to us and wanted to go through the historic review process to be in compliance. We have scheduled about 3 or 4 minor reviews on this project. The Barrio was represented by board member Grace, who's here, and class review was represented by Ricky. Those occasions, they have made sufficient concession to let the applicant know that they need to bring similar doors within the development zone. What was presented at the first review did not match any door, was taken out of the development zone that could not be accepted, which is the same thing that I said in the first case. So the members present, both Grace and Ricky, had indicated to the applicant what needed to be done to get approval. And at the third review that we did, in addition to the fact that Mark was always out of town, so, but we finally did a third review in which Ricky and Grace specifically told Mark exactly what needed to be done to bring this door to compliance. As much as they are not allowed to design, they kind of gave some design options to Mark. And Mark said he was going to do that. And then suddenly he said he wanted to go before the full board. That is why you are here today, because he will not do what was required in the minor review. And because Grace is here as a member, I would suggest, Mr. Chair, if you so like, so that Grace can give you an update as to what they saw on the field on the numerous times that we went through the review process. Then I believe we can proceed from there, so you have an idea, the background.
That sounds good. Grace, do you want to, you did the minor review from what I understood. Go ahead and just update us real quick.
Yeah, so we met via Zoom. This is a couple months ago now, I think. Ricky, like Michael was saying, is me, is Ricky from PRS. And we sort of looked at some precedents that he had provided that were outside of the development zone and asked him to return to the board with precedents inside the development zone that reflect the light proportion and design of the door that is installed now, the material and the finish, and then the removal of the transom. So those were kind of our three items that we would like him to address in his revised presentation.
Great. Rory, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, thank you. And so Mr. Body hired me last week, and he had mentioned that he had met with Grace and Ricky, but he did not provide me the information that they had shared with him. So I think we've done a little bit of what he asked for just based on our review of this, but I'll be upfront that there may be some other things that were not addressed. So I apologize for that. So I'm going to go ahead and provide the presentation that I've got prepared. With full disclosure that it may not be addressing everything that was addressed last time. I guess my request would be that after this, if we could maybe kind of review those things again. Maybe there's some things we've addressed, maybe not, but I'd appreciate that. So my apologies for not coming fully prepared based on that prior conversation. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. With me just a second. All right. So just, I think most of you are familiar with the property. It's in the northwest corner of Convent and Simpson, 350 South Convent Avenue. It was, as far as we can tell, built in the 1880s. Or the thought is it was originally a bakery, and that operated as a bakery well into the 1990s, and most recently has been used for an office. You probably, if you're not familiar with Body Indian art, they've been around in Tucson since the early 50s. Mark's dad started it, and then Mark took over in 1972, and they've operated here since, and they also have a facility in Santa Fe. But they officially kind of moved their Tucson location from Campbell Avenue to this location at 350 in the fall of 2023, the fall of last year, which is when they installed the door. Now, the original, or the door that was there in 2023 was not even an operational door, and whatever door they had here, as you see, it looks like it was from, you know, some, I don't know, looks like it's from the 60s or 70s as far as I can tell, but was not a door that was either historic or operational. They wanted this to be their front entrance, and so they replaced the door. When they tried to take this off, it just fell apart. So there was no even ability to use the door that was here, and so they replaced it with this door. The original pictures, I think, that you had, the steel was fresh, and so it had not kind of rusted, patinaed. This was the door as it looks today. So they reactivated that door. They've left it obviously in the same place. Mr. Body got Tom Breedlow, the master blacksmith, to build this door, and this is what they presented. Just for familiarity, the development zone is the green line around our project. What we have sort of prepared here are some examples of not necessarily metal doors. Almost all of the doors in this development zone are either wood or aluminum that looks like wood. There's quite a few that were aluminum replacement doors that have kind of a six eight panel look to them. But I think it's important to note that on this building itself, there are metal shutters. This is just to the right of the door that you saw earlier, and the door and windows on that same building to the courtyard. There's the security screens, but behind those are paneled metal shutters. So even on this building itself, metal has been used as far as a material. I did want to note that throughout this area, there's quite a few buildings that do have metal features. Mostly they're in security doors and security screens, so that probably doesn't carry a lot of weight. But particularly on this building, using metal is something that I think is in character with the building. Just up the way, on the other side of the Etherton building, there is a metal door that's kind of you can see it from the street, but it's in the back of the two structures that are, the best I can tell is 330 South Convent. I'm not sure that's the exact address, but it is within that complex. There is a metal door. It looks like it's a replacement door. And then also within the development zone, over on the edge of the development zone, there's at 375 South Meyer. It's also connected to the sort of vacant lot. It's at 195 West Simpson. Behind the metal screen and security gate, there is a metal door. Now, this I do not think it's a contributing property. It's connected to a contributing property next door, and this structure was in the historic inventory, but it's not listed as a contributing property on the GIS map, and on the inventory, it seemed to indicate that this may have been a later addition. But that being said, it is in the development zone. And that is a metal door. It looks kind of bluish here. That's just, I had to blow it up and it came off with a blue tint, but it's a kind of a rusted metal door. So there is some precedent for this in that development area. There are some outside of the development zone, but Mr. Taku has said that you all can't really consider that. This isn't far, but it is outside the development zone. So based on the Barrio Historico design guidelines, this is a replacement door, and it does conform with the original size. It's just a replacement. I think to his credit, he's converted an operable door to an operable door. Style and materials, again, on that structure, there is metal that's being used. And so we're just asking for a recommendation to approve. And if not, then we would like some guidance on on maybe how he can move forward and get that recommendation to approve. So with that, I'll stop sharing and open the floor to questions. And I appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you for presenting.
So, Rory, just based on the last thing that you were saying, this door conforms with the same size. Given the fact that there was a transom, I guess a question for the board, a transom above this door originally, and there is not now, would you say it is the same size? I'm leaning towards it's not the same size.
I would agree with that.
I think I would too.
So I'm sorry, what's the point? Has it been framed down to obscure where the transom was? Is that what I'm gathering?
No, and the opening is the same size. I think that part,
Okay.
and from that perspective, it is consistent. It's just that the window has been removed and replaced with a taller door.
Yeah. So proportions. Yeah. No more transom, taller door.
But to that point, the actual impact on the contributing structure, the adobe hasn't been modified, so that's a possible.
Rory, how tall is that door? Do you know?
Yeah, just a second. I've got that. So the door now measures, it's 42 by 94 inches. So
almost 8 feet.
Yeah.
Grace, can you please just tell the board what your recommendation Ricky was, so that might guide the board, because they're still going to go to PRS and they'll meet Ricky over there. I think Ricky and you made one simple recommendation to them. Can you just tell the board exactly what both of you had expected him to do for this to get approved?
I think the biggest concern, the recommendation that was made was to bring precedence in the development zone to justify the changes that were made. So I think there was an email that was sent out to him that listed them out, the light proportion in the door in terms of how that is represented elsewhere in the development zone, the material finish, and then the removal of the transom. So those were the three that I have on my list.
Mr. Chair, could I ask a question?
Please.
To Grace, I think. Yeah. I think this is to Grace, but to everybody. Is there, and maybe I'll share the screen to show. Was there any consideration or discussion about whether or not that transom may have been there before, or if it was part of this door? And I could be wrong. This doesn't look anything near historic. It looks like a bad sort of patch job. But was there any consideration to maybe that transom wasn't there historically, or is that something that it?
No, it's absolutely. I think it's very likely that transom wasn't there before. So if we had images maybe of the original condition that showed there was a full height door, I think that that would have probably sufficed. And I know that those aren't always available. That kind of thing is hit or miss. So
yeah, and we can go look for those. I don't know that we'll be very successful in finding them, but I'm happy to look for that.
It would be hard to imagine that transom was not there originally, given that it's 90 something, 96 was it, high, and a standard door. Not that there were standards back in the day, but I mean that's the transom served a function, and I would imagine that transom was there.
Yeah, and also looking at the other buildings in
Mr.
the
Chair,
development zone, a lot of them
Chair,
have transoms as well.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this is even a bigger problem just because this door was done without appropriate review approval. I believe that if they probably had come in to do the review, maybe at the time, all this would have been resolved. If he had come and said, okay, this is a damaged door, it's not operational, can I do this, can I do this? I'm sure that it would have been a different discussion.
Rory, was that so what's Mark's kind of is Mark's aware that this is like not a historic, there's no historic I mean, I know you've cited some other doors that are, metal doors in, one plane, no lights in some of them, most of them. But is Mark kind of acknowledging that he may have made a mistake or not?
Yeah, he is acknowledging that if he had it to do over, he would have done it differently. I mean, frankly, what this came down to is he got in, he had to, I don't know if this is a good excuse or not, but I mean, to me, it makes sense. He had to get open for the holiday seasons, and he went ahead with it. Looking back, that was not, right now, that's not the best thing, but that's what he did. And so I think now he's looking for what's the path forward. Obviously, he wants to avoid, if he can avoid taking out the door, that would be, if he can modify it or whatever, but, he wants to try to avoid taking out the door, but open to other kind of modifications.
So let me just ask the board a question. So one of the references of steel doors that Rory showed was, I think, on Meyer, and it had a grid applied over it. Can we find that picture? Or
yeah.
And so my question is going to be, would that be accepted? If he kind of retrofitted that the existing door with this sort of grid over it. It was a set of bars that seemed to be forward from the surface of the door. And we'll find it here. But would that be acceptable if he were to, kind of alter
Is this what you're talking about, Steven?
No, those are historic. No, there was a door, I think it was on the old Ellie's old office.
363, it's not in the development zone, or if you could go, I think one more slide. Yeah, that one. Is that what you mean, Stephen? This one?
Is it possible to blow that up a little? I don't, if it's not, that's fine.
Oh, I think you're testing my PowerPoint skills.
Okay, that's all right. So, I mean, boy. So would that be acceptable to the board if so? Who, boy, yeah. But then there's the he's
tough one.
Taking away the transom too.
Do we have the measurement of the original door?
I don't have the original door measurement, no. And I can see if he's got it, but I doubt it. I mean, you can kind of extrapolate that it's probably 18 inches, but 12, 18 inches.
If that's a 6'8", door, then you could subtract that from the overall opening and pretty much figure it out.
Stephen, in the metal shutters on the courtyard openings, I mean, do you know how long those have been there?
Well, those were added by Kelly, but those, and I don't know. That wall happened before I came, so that's probably a new I don't know if that's a new wall or not. Maybe there was a building there with those as windows. I'm not sure. So I can't say. But steel shutters, well, I'll stop. I'll just be conjecturing.
And I feel like we should limit the discussion to just doors in this case.
Yeah.
Comparing doors against doors.
I have a question. So Rory, so does he have an idea for fixing the door rather than replacing it? It's very challenging to me.
Yeah, we haven't talked about anything specific. So I think we want to have the discussion with you, and then I mean, I think there might be ways that he could put I guess it's a wood core door with metal, sort of a fascia metal covering. So I think he's got some ability to do something to the outside. I don't know if you could retrofit it to have a transom, kind of I guess you might be able to put some sort of a transom look at the top, but.
So Roy, let me say this, based on what you are hearing from the board, I believe this project you will still go to PRS and face the same issue here, because Ricky will be there who did the review with Grace. Would you consider that maybe he didn't give you all the information? Is it possible for you to consider going back to discuss with him further based on what you hear, and then probably come back with an alternate solution?
Yeah.
But based on what I hear going on here, I may be wrong. It doesn't look like you're going to get what you're asking for. So rather than going south, I'd rather prefer that maybe we ask for time to go back and talk with your applicants, and then maybe you can get some other solutions and come back to the board.
I think it's pretty clear we're not going to get through with this. I think to give us maybe a better chance of coming back with something that's acceptable, if there's, I shouldn't ask you guys to design this, but if there's some ideas or some things that maybe you've seen in other areas. I mean,
Can you show us the development zone again really quickly? I know there's several doors across the street that would be appropriate, and it looks like those are in your development zone. So on the east side of Convent, more towards Cushing, I know that there's quite a few doors there for different galleries and little businesses and law offices that I think probably more appropriately suit what he's got going on there.
Is one thought that we had, I'll run this by y'all, is is there an ability to maybe put like a screen in front of this door and have that be the door so the screen would fully cover the front door, and that would be wood. And I've seen today when I was out there, there's numerous sort of screen doors that are that look, if they're not original, they look close. So I don't know if that's an approach, just something that would save him the ability to not have to take out the door entirely and start from scratch. And I know he's coming to you. He didn't do this the right way. He should have, and I fully understand that. But at the same time, it was an expensive door, and I'm just trying to help avoid what I think is, something that's pretty harsh, a harsh penalty.
Can you go back to that west elevation, please?
Is Current
Yes.
one or the old one?
Either one. I think if you have a screen in front of that, it's going to reduce the depth of the opening, which, I mean, what's very nice about this is it's inset and it shows the thickness of the wall. So I don't know if I'd be in agreement with that. Unfortunately, I think there's just no precedent on a historic facade like that with a metal door, with also that side light that's there, whatever that light is called, for the window.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be very hard pressed to approve it the way it is, Rory. I'm sorry.
No, I understand.
We want to make a motion.
Well, or would you be open to continuing and we try to come back with something that's more, some other ideas?
I'll make a motion to continue this and come back with a different door design that is in the development zone.
Just in terms of process here, and avoiding the spinning of wheels, how do we, so are we allowed to give any guidance outside of the meeting, or does Rory just, or Mark just come with a new design? I mean, that seems a little risky without any, kind of
guidance. Michael, can you answer that?
Yes, I think within the setting of the meeting, the board has to give concise clarification to the applicant during the meeting setting. You cannot discuss a project outside the board scheduled meeting. That would be a violation of open meeting law. And I'm sure Rory knows that. So we would not encourage you to do that outside of this. If you have any ideas, you can tell them right now.
Rory, you don't have any photos of the other houses, buildings on the street, do you?
Other than what I've provided, I mean, I can pull up Google, Google Streets right now, but other than that, I don't have anything.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, board, but I think there's quite a few examples over there that they can use, especially on the east side and also probably the west side of Convent, that would be a more appropriate door design.
So
I will say most seem to be more solid wood type doors, the panels, like I said. So
yeah, they are.
So can I just run that idea of that on the old America West gallery door on Meyer? Is that not, it's not really historic, but kind of the way the surface is broken up and if it doesn't look egregious, is just asking the board here, would that, so if that were to be, that kind of grid were to be applied over the existing door and maybe get rid of the side light, because that is really contemporary, well, would that be acceptable? And then also we got to consider the absence of the transom, but is there any way that this kind of theme of this America West door could be applied to Mark's door?
I don't know. I mean, it's since we can't zoom in, I've seen that door a million times, but I've never paid true attention to it. I don't know if, I mean, is that a wrought iron gate that was bought at Home Depot and applied, or did somebody make that?
That was probably a Tom Bredlow door.
Okay.
And I can try to, let me see if I can zoom in on the picture.
I just wonder if that's a less expensive option than a new door. It looks complicated to layer that.
Yeah, you may be right. Yeah.
I mean, that door was, he said that door was an $8,000 door. So I think any kind of option. Okay. Can y'all see the door now?
Yes.
All right. And it's metal, the door itself was metal. At least that's what it felt like when I tapped on it. And then the exterior bars were, I mean, it all looked like it was all kind of done at the same time. So I don't know if this is helpful or not, but
I think Hope may be right. That may be a really expensive fix right there. Instead of trying to save any money, it might be really expensive. And I don't know that it would work as far as the historic aspect.
look, can I ask you, is in like just trying to think of ways that he can work through this, having the exterior facade of the door wood and maybe that looks similar to some of the ones in this development zone, but then keeping the door itself, is that something that he could look at? Or does he have to replace the whole door inside and out? You know, does that make, I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but I'm just kind of.
Yes, Laurie, I think that Grace and Ricky had talked about that option at one point. I'm not sure whether they concluded on that. There was certainly a discussion in that direction between Grace and Ricky, if Grace can remember that discussion.
Yeah. So Mark had asked sort of if I had clad it in wood, and I work with a designer to come up with something that has a precedent in the development zone. It reflects doors in the development zone, but it's this existing door with some sort of wood applied to it. Would you see that as a solution for the next time? And we had said, you know, that sounds like an interesting thing to explore. We would definitely review that with the precedents in the development zone when you come back the next time.
Yep.
Is there an issue, Michael, with talking to Grace, since she had these conversations beforehand? And I mean, it seems to me that wouldn't be an issue or an open meetings law violation, just to get more information on that initial meeting and those ideas.
Because she reviewed the project and this one is going through a public process, you are representing an African applicant, you can talk to her about the discussion she had during the minor review.
Okay.
But not outside that. Because the minor review was part of a public meeting. So you can talk to her about that, but nothing outside that.
All right, fair enough. If you're willing to talk to me, Grace. So
yeah.
It was kind of a joke, but not a very good one. Sorry.
So I think if, you know, as I think you may have just said this, but if they were planning,
and if you people do exchange emails, sorry to interrupt you, Stephen, and if you people do exchange emails, please make sure you get staff involved.
Absolutely.
If there were planks kind of applied to this door, I know you'd have to change hinges and kind of it would change the depth of the door, but would that be acceptable to the board if it was wood planks that had some kind of, you know, substance?
I would be okay with that. I think if there was maybe a gap between the wood planks and screws to hold it into the metal door, I would like to see that piece of glass removed.
Yeah.
By applying wood planks, that would be pretty easy. You could just go over it.
And then what's the board's feeling about the transom? Because that seems to be that seems like a kind of a important aspect.
Rory, can you go back to the elevation, please?
Sure. Sorry. There we go.
So in what Ricky and Grace has said to Mark on the transom, they said Mark should justify whether this was a historic feature or not. And if it was a historic feature, then he should give a rationale for the reason why the transom was taken off. That was a discussion that they had. And I have an email to that effect. And I can share this email with you, Laurie.
All right, perfect.
So that you have basically an idea of what the conclusion of the minor review was. These issues we're talking about are all laid out in it. Are you, Stephen? You can continue.
I'll just say I think not having a transom is a loss.
I don't know if my screen is frozen, but are you guys seeing the front elevation?
No.
Roy, do you think you can go to that?
I think
Are you on it there? But
I
it's not.
thought I was on it, but maybe I.
We're on the gallery.
What's that?
We were back on that America West gallery.
Okay, let me try. It was sharing on my screen, but that one, did it work now?
Yeah, it's working now. So
okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, in your development zone, there are examples of solid doors without transoms, but that is probably because the opening of the door is just big enough for the door. So it's kind of, yeah, it's a tough one to kind of have that proportion of opening without a transom.
Can I ask about I hate to go back to this, but the screen door, if the screen door doesn't push out much, is that just a non-starter, or if we address the concern that was brought up about it coming out too far, is that something that's possible?
I mean, I don't. I think if like that America West one, it would be up tight against the door, so I think you would still have the thickness effect. But then you've got this door here probably swinging in, I assume.
Yeah.
And you'll have to have that screen door always constantly out or opening out with no real landing there. I'm not sure how that works for code. I don't know. We necessarily review that for code purposes, but I don't know. I think for my preference, I would like to see wood on that door. That door just looks so out of place with the building itself. And I think if we're going to bring the transom into the discussion here, it's pretty much a non-starter with trying to keep this door. I think it would be less expensive to create a new door that works with the flow of that street there. So I think we probably should decide on the transom or not and move forward on this in one way or another.
Well, I guess I would ask, let us maybe do the research to see. I mean, I think there's an assumption that there was one there, and it probably was because of the height, but it may be worthwhile. I mean, a little bit of research might give us some clarity on it.
I think you're right. So I'm going to make a motion to continue this with Rory coming back at their earliest convenience with more research and other doors in the development zone that we can look at. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Oh, was that you, Mitch?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Darren?
Yes.
Hope?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
And Stephen?
Yes.
Great. All right, Rory, thanks for your time. We'll see you in the near future.
You bet. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
When you get ready, just let us know.
Yes.
And just remember, the Barrio meets once a month.
Okay. I'll reach out, Michael, and figure out what our deadline is for the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to item number 5, the design guidelines discussion. We're kind of at a point with the guidelines now that I assume that they're pretty much finished. They need some editing. I know that myself and Mitch have edited the pages that we were supposed to edit. Grace, do you have an update?
I do not. This is my fault. It's in my court and I did not send out the edits or the revised to the whole board. Reviewing the LAR, I realized that I failed to do that. So let me get the Google Doc to everybody. That's, I think, our next step. So we have those changes incorporated and we just need to communicate that to the rest of the board and especially the new members and make sure that everybody's seen it.
Yeah. So I think we're very fortunate because Hope is a very good editor, and Hope, tell me if I'm wrong, you've taken it upon yourself to look at the guidelines and make any kind of grammatical changes necessary.
Well, I haven't done that yet.
Oh,
I
right.
will be happy to do that. Would we do that after the content was set?
Yeah, our content is pretty much set at this point. We were just kind of going through them in sections. I think it's around 45 pages. So each of us took 15 pages and did some editing to it. Grace, I did this months ago and then I lost access to the Google Doc, and I'm pretty computer illiterate, so I don't know if my changes were saved. And maybe Mitch had the same problem.
I think you sent them to me outside of the Google Doc. I'm just
Oh.
double checking. I know it was a while ago. Yeah, you had sent them to me as just a standard Word document, so I have them.
You do with the changes that I made. And what about Mitch's section?
I'm just confirming, sorry for the wait.
Oh, don't worry.
Yes, I have Mitch's comments as well in an email format.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chair, because you have new members, I think it would be a good idea to send it to them too, so they can read and be on the same page with you before ever we go through the adopting process.
Yeah, I think they're on the city website, aren't they, Grace?
The draft without Mitch's revisions for sure is on the website.
Okay. So maybe we could send them out to the new board members and we look at them. I think we kind of try and place this as a high priority to finish up so we can move on from it. And I know that there's going to be projects coming up in the future that could benefit by having guidelines in place. And so then, Michael, what is the process after
you have done and complete and you believe that you're really set with it, it has to go to PROS. We would schedule it for PRS so that PRS can also review and give its own recommendation.
Then does it have to go to mayor and council?
Yes.
Okay. How long does this process usually take?
It just depends on when we submit to them. I believe this one does not, it will probably end at the city manager's office.
What is PRS?
Oh, Plans Review Subcommittee of the Tucson Pima County Historical Commission.
Okay.
Is the next step. When the project comes to you, Stephen, you review it, and then the next step, it goes to the Plans Review Subcommittee of the Tucson Pima County Historical Commission. And after that, basically, when any project you review, you will make a recommendation to the director. The Plans Review Subcommittee will review the same project, the same plans, like they will have the same discussion you're having on this door. They will make their own independent recommendation to the director. The director will take those two recommendations from the Barrio and Plans Review Subcommittee, and that's how the director will formulate a decision. The director can accept all your recommendations, and go by it and make a decision based on that, or he can set aside all your recommendations and make an independent decision, or the director can decide to send the case back to you again for further review. Those are all what the director can do.
Thank you.
So can we come up with a quick timeline of how we want to proceed with this? Grace, do you have any more work to do on those?
I don't believe so. What's the best way to, so would I send it to you, Michael, and then you distribute it to the board, or can I send it to everybody, or how does that work? It'll be a link to a Google Drive document.
Yeah, you will send it to city staff, and then city staff will send it to all the board members.
Okay, great. And then Hope, are you comfortable with taking it from there by looking at it? And then maybe we can you can send it out for a first draft.
Yeah.
So, and then we can go from there and get this thing finalized.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any questions on the guidelines from anybody? Oh, we move on.
You have a timeline for that?
What's that?
Do you have a timeline for that?
As soon as Grace gets you the Grace.
Yeah, and I know I've been
tomorrow,
okay.
Next week.
No, I was just kidding. Just
well, how about this? I will.
I prefer, my preference is for you to take time and do a good document, because many cases will come to you. And so my preference would be that the board should take its time and really figure out and do a good document. That would
Michael, we've been working on this for I think 5 years.
I know.
Close to 5 years. So I mean, I think the content is there.
Yeah.
Everybody was pretty satisfied with what's in there. I think it just needs to be a little bit more fluid and grammatically correct. So Hope, what were you?
Okay. So I was going to say, I'm about to travel for a week, so I won't touch it until I'm back. So if you all want to do anything to it, but then I would say by October 1st, I can do a edit on it.
Okay.
And send it back to everyone.
Great.
Okay. We'll just keep it as a standard item on the agenda until this is resolved.
Sounds good. Item number 6, Michael, staff updates.
The update I have is, as you may know, Jody, who was the historic preservation officer, is no longer with the city. So the city is in search of a new historic preservation officer. In the interim, Maria Guerrero, who's here with me today, is come in to help us in the historic preservation office while the city looks for a historic preservation officer. Some of you may also know our director, Christina Swallow, who was the director of planning and development services, has been promoted to the city manager's office. And so she's no longer the director. Corinne Manning, who was a deputy director, has been appointed as the interim director of planning and development services. So those are the update on the staffing situation as they are right now, which I believe the board has to know. You just reviewed a case today on the ADU, and I'm sure some of you are aware of changes that the state is trying to propose on this ADU. Planning and Development Service staff, Dan has given a presentation to the full commission about what to expect and what needs to be done. And if the board would so like, we can still arrange for Dan to give a similar presentation to you. These ADUs, you have one today and many more will be coming, so you can know exactly what is expected, what the state says, what is existing now. Or I can forward that presentation to the board for you to take a look at it. And if there are any specific questions that you have, we'll be more than willing for that to come and clarify for you. That's what I have. We have that presentation which we can share with you. That would just be.
I have a question real quick on the ADUs design kind of repertoire. So I'm not sure how likely it is that we'll see many more of these, but and this one was pretty appropriate for the neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
But would that same design be popping up all over the neighborhood, or are they allowed to change the roof line or things like that?
No, Stephen, to be honest with you, I cannot say. I don't know what people are preparing. However, both the state and the current ADU guidelines remain the same. So even when the state legislation comes in and change certain things on the ADU, once you are coming to the historic preservation zone, you have to come before the board for review. So I don't know how many will be coming in. Since the ADU ordinance came into play, I don't think there have been so many of them that have come to the barrio. Many of them have been around West University. As far as the barrio is concerned, I think there's probably been only one or so. So to answer your question, I do not foresee them coming too many because we have not seen many based on the past year. I don't know whether that answers your question, but they will definitely come to you for review.
Okay. Yeah.
That is why I was saying today that just because that design won during the competition does not mean that they're excluded from your review.
Yeah, I guess building on Stephen's question, there were some limitations, I think discussed more in the courtesy review as to how much a model plan could change to accommodate the neighborhood guidelines. And I would be curious, I don't know if that's something that Dan would be able to speak on, but if I think that would be something that would be good to know, like how far can we push it before they don't have their pre-approval in place from a building code perspective?
Oh yeah, that is something that I can bring up to Dan whenever he comes to talk to you. If need be, he can answer that, or if he just give me an answer, I can share it with you.
Yeah, it would. I don't know that it would be a bad thing or a good thing if you saw multiples throughout the neighborhood of this design, but it would just be a funny situation to be able to like drive through the neighborhood and goes, oh yeah, that's that one that is, they're all the same.
Yeah, but Stephen, you have to understand all the ADU that have gone through our Park, West University, they don't have the same design.
Okay.
People are just interested in making, it used to be called a casita for mother-in-law, and people are just out there trying to put a second unit, second dwelling. So it does not really follow a pre-approved design as this one. This particular one is just a typical case. But most of them that we have seen in other preservation zones do not have a fixed design. People come up with their own design according to if that's what you want.
Hey, Michael.
And I'm not working on any full review case for the barrio at this time. I do have a couple of minor reviews, but I will reach out to you on those.
Okay. And Michael, are you going to be the primary contact, or will it be Maria, or do we copy both? How is it going to work from here on out until?
Just both of us, just the same thing as we were doing with Jody. Just copy both of us, but I'll basically be handling the review, the external review, the cases and stuff like that. But Maria will still be there to help as much as possible. So you can always copy both of us.
Okay.
And then to answer your question, the email that you sent to me, if you see any violation in your area, we as staff are not going to go out there and enforce. It is always better to call and report to the coast enforcement. You don't need to call your name. You don't need to give your address. And then you can just tell us that you have reported this, and then we can follow up from there. The one that you told me, we do have Rick Sanate, who's helping us going to the field and talking to people about this violation. I'm going to send that forward to him so that he can look at it and let us know.
Okay, so I don't have to call in.
No, you still have to call it.
Okay.
Everybody, please, if you see something, just call it in and then call me or email Maria, and then we go from there. But we are not going to we don't start the case. Zoning violation within the city of Tucson are complaint driven. So a citizen has to complain. And then it is in the historic preservation zone, then they will let us know that, okay, this is going on, this is going on. We are not going to call your name. And when you report, you don't need to give your name.
And there's also an online portal to do that?
Yes. I'll send the link to you.
Yeah, if you could, that would be great. Okay. Does anybody have anything else to bring up or say? No. Okay, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn today, and we don't have to vote on this. So I thank everybody for their time, and we'll see you next month.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Everybody
Bye.
will let you know if there's a case for next month or not. Oh, before we close, so next month, even if we don't have review cases, if you just want us to do a meeting that you can come and discuss your design guidelines, you are more than welcome to do that. You don't really have to wait until we have cases before we have this. So if you feel they need that, you're already prepared on your design guideline, you want to come and finalize it, and you want us to just schedule a meeting for that purpose, we can do that.
All right, so let's schedule that meeting for October if we don't have any reviews.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll take note of that. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording.
Bye.